In this video, how to fix a cycling puncture on a gravel bike, or indeed any bike for that matter. It's a cycling basic, yet I know the worry about this stops many people from cycling very far from home. So this is how to do it.
This video is part of the series Stuff Cyclists Don't Tell You, straightforward tips and advice for new and returning cyclists. If that's you, look for the videos with the purple trim. I also make adventure cycling videos which are meant to be fun, and if this sounds like your sort of thing, then it would be great if you'd subscribe, ideally hitting the bell notifications too. So this is how I fix a flat tyre when I'm out. Firstly, get somewhere safe away from cars. I can't stress this enough. Drop into a smaller gear on the back. Rain jacket on to protect nice clean jersey and take off any nice gloves. If you have caliper brakes, slacken them. Turn the bike over, that's controversial but it's just easier. Inspect the tyre. Is there a lump of glass or an obvious thorn sticking out? Undo the wheel quick release. If it's the rear wheel, use a stick to avoid getting dirty fingers as you pull the derailleur back and release the wheel. Now get comfy. To remove the tyre, first push the sidewalls out of the groove around the rim. If the rims are tubeless ready, it can be hard to break the seal. Do it on both sides. Try to get both beads of the tyre in the middle of the rim where it's deepest, so the central circumference is less than the outer circumference. You might even get the tyre off this way. You'll get a tyre lever underneath, clipped to a spoke, then a second one alongside and use it to free the tyre. The bead will pop off the rim. Remove the nut holding the inner tube, then remove it. Crucially important is to find the cause of the puncture, or it could happen again immediately. Locate the puncture hole in the inner tube, pump some air in and try to find out where it's escaping. At home you'd do this by putting the tube in a bucket of water and looking for tiny telltale air bubbles, but you can't do that here. So work around the tube with it close to your ear so you might hear the hiss, and sensitive cheek so you might feel the air escaping. A likely spot is at the base of the valve itself. If there are two holes side by side, that's known as a snakebite puncture, caused by having too little air in the tyre, and when compressed by hitting a pothole or curb, the rim has bitten two fang-like holes in the tyre. If it's not a snakebite, turn to the tyre itself. Do not simply run your finger around the inside of the tyre. If there's something sharp in there, you'll cut your finger. Take the tyre off, turn it inside out, and have a good look. Only run your finger around as a last resort. If there's nothing there, check the rim tape. This tape prevents the metal ends of the spokes poking into the inner tube, but perhaps they've come through, in which case you'll need to reinforce that bit with whatever you can lay your hands on, ideally a tyre boot, but a bar wrapper might do. Yet sometimes there is just no obvious cause to the puncture. You have to hope the replacement will hold. Most cyclists do not fix punctures by the roadside, they simply replace the inner tube, which cost around £5. You can repair it later. Remove the nut from the new inner tube and pump a little air in. Not much yet, just give it some shape. Put one edge of the tyre around the rim, but don't try to work it into the groove yet. Pop the valve through the rim and work the rest of the inner tube into place. Valves come in different lengths, so make sure yours will fit all the way through the rims. Fancy deep section rims need longer valves or valve extenders. Starting at the valve, work the remaining edge of the tyre over the rim. About half of it will go easily. Nip both sides of the tyre and work it into the middle of the rim. Remember, the rim is deepest here, the circumference is less, so there's more space than when the tyre is sat at the edges. Often this creates enough slack for the rest of the tyre to pop into place, perhaps with a nudge from the tyre lever. Just be careful not to nip the inner tube between the tyre lever and the tyre or rim. That's where a bit of air in the inner tube does help. Now inflate the tyre slightly using a CO2 cartridge or preferably a pump. Cartridges just go to landfill. Everything seems seated, but one last check. Go all around working the tyre away from both rims just to make sure the inner tube isn't caught beneath, then finish inflating. Wheel goes back in, trying not to get dirty fingers. Tools go back in the bag. Ideally carry an old thin freezer bag for the old inner tube to take home. There you can fix it with a proper puncture repair kit, or bin it, or ideally send it to Cycle of Good.
There are three types of wheel and tyre systems. Clinchers are probably what you have. They use an inner tube and there's no need for a strong seal between the tyre and rim. That said, new tyres are always hard to get on at first. Tubeless are increasingly popular. No inner tube, you inflate the tyre directly, so it has to have a strong airtight seal with the rim. Many tyres and rims are now tubeless ready, even if many people still use inner tubes with them. Some combinations of those tyres and rims are very, very hard to get off. You sometimes actually have to stand on them. My Camino came with such a combination, so I changed the tyre. Tubulars are different again, and I'm including them for completeness. It's unlikely you'll ever see them. A one-piece tyre and inner tube combination. They're called tubs or sew-ups, and they are increasingly rare. I really hope I haven't made that sound too complicated, because it's not. Just make sure you have the right size inner tube, work the tyre in towards the centre of the rim where there's more room, and try to find the source of the puncture so it doesn't immediately happen again, because that's frustrating. And practice, because it doesn't get you perfect, but it does make you better. And speaking about being better, leave us a comment if there's anything you'd like us to cover on here. We'll do our best to see if we can. Oh, and if you would subscribe and hit the bell notifications, please, that makes a huge difference. And give us a thumbs up. I know everybody asks for that on the YouTube, but it does help, it really does. And thank you to all those people who've already subscribed, and we'll see you next time.